You put your right elbow in, put your right elbow out, you put your right elbow in, and you shake it all the. Ow! We will be right back. Oh, well, unless Lynn does one of her usuals. Yep. No, we're not going right back because Lynn's getting her one technical difficulty out of the way.
We are we're back.
Can't find the music. What does that tell us about the situation? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the upper deck. As you notice, Ciara is not sitting next to me. My good friend Chris is. Chris, thank you so much for joining. Ciara's going to be back next week. She and her kids and the whole fam is down for the count, like so many of people are right now. So, Chris, tell us what's going on. Tell us about your podcast. You're a busy guy.
Thank you, Lynn. Hey, thank you again for asking me to join you. You know me, I love chatting with you, so I'm always
Thank
available.
you.
Yeah, I got the NYMLB Talk podcast. We've had a bunch of guests on the last few weeks, so we're just kind of catching our breath. But we're going to get into previewing the season because the season is, wrap it up in a couple of weeks, right? We're going to be opening day is less than 3 weeks away now, so I can't wait. Well, I can wait a little bit now with all our injuries, but yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And of course, liftoff we do as well for football. Taking a break this week. But we'll be back in 2 weeks on that.
Okay, and so obviously for I'm just going to say it for people like me that just focus on one team in football. That's the Jets podcast,
yes.
Right?
Yep.
So and Chris, you'll put all that in your it's in your headline there, right? Yep. So make sure you check out both of Chris's podcasts. Amazing stuff. I did check out Liftoff. You don't talk about the Bills, so
we do a little bit. Like, I mean, we start with the Jets, and then we kind of go into the rest of the league. So, yes,
I know.
They are one of the best teams in the league.
I'm teasing. And of course, your MLB talks is just really everyone needs to be tuning in.
Get into baseball, but definitely Yankees Mets talk. But we get into the whole league, and we have guests now the last few weeks, which is kind of cool. We just a couple of weeks ago we had Howard Kellman, who's a longtime baseball play-by-play man for the Indianapolis Indians in AAA. He's been there for about 40 years. Play-by-play guy, great stories. Check him out. We had Ed Lynch, former Met pitcher, on the other day.
Wow.
So yeah, you can check us out.
Big time.
You want to go and look back. That was another good one. Really great stories with him. So, but we are talking Yankees today.
Yeah, we are. But before we jump off the focus on you, all the platforms, right?
Yeah. You can follow me everywhere on Twitter. I'm at CP7NY. The podcasts are at NYMLB Talk, and also the Jet one at Liftoff Jets. So check us out.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So let's just get right to it. Let's get to the elbow in the room. What the hell? What the living hell is going on? I mean, so spring training. Oh, it's just spring training. Spring training's for working your shit out. Like it's about practicing, figuring out, fixing up those mechanics. But no, not the Yankees. They got to go hard. And so the list is getting exhausting, nauseating, and concerning all at the same time.
Yes.
And so let's just start out with the biggest elbow in the room, Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
So now Garrett Cole, and Chris, we were just saying before we were hopping on, it's almost like a time warp because it's the same exact point and just about in spring training as last year. Well, where this elbow stuff popped up.
Yeah.
And so he got tested, and now looking for a second opinion. And you know what? We're pretty intelligent fans. If you're looking for a second opinion, you didn't like the first answer. So what are you thinking is going on, Chris?
I don't know. It's definitely nothing good, right? I mean, the best we could hope for is the same thing as last year, and he's out till June, July, right? And he comes back, and we got him for the second half of the season. That's for me right now. That's the best case scenario. Worst case is, yeah, I don't want to hear it, but we might have to deal with the Tommy John surgery or some kind of surgery that's going to knock him out for probably the whole season because it's the second year in a row. He's not getting younger, so you gotta think that maybe this is a Tommy John type of situation, and we're going to lose him for the year. And if we lose Cole, I mean, let's be honest, this is the one guy you cannot replace, right? Unless you're trading away, 3 or 4 of your top prospects and getting, another ace somewhere. But who's trading their ace at this point, right? So,
Right.
I don't know. This is the other ones we could handle, I think. We could go down the line and we'll talk about them. But the Cole injury is, to me, the biggest one.
Yeah, I think there's some, tie for first place that we'll get into soon. But, the thing is that Cole has a big, if he's getting the advice that he needs Tommy John, he has a decision to make, and neither one of them are good for the game.
Right.
Because he's coming into his 36th year. He'll be 36, or, if he took this year to take Tommy John, he'll be 36 when he comes back. Maybe that's what it is. But either way, is he going to go through Tommy John, knowing that he comes back at, so much, deep into, close to retiring, but I guess the first hanging question is, are they recommending Tommy John? It seems like the writing's on the wall, and he turned it down last time, and we don't know that he had Tommy John last time, but it's the same exact scenario. So
Right.
it was big writing on the wall at the very least, seems to me. So and yeah, Chris, is that you commenting about heel?
No.
No. Oh, okay. So, hey, Uncle Tat, you listening? Good
Well,
to see you.
a little note about Cole. Cole's going to be 35 in September.
Okay, so it
Not
would be
young, not
next
young
season.
for a starter, and not young for a guy who's second year in a row having an elbow issue, and so that's why I'm leaning towards. Oh boy, this might be worst case scenario instead of best case scenario, which it was last year. And that's I'm hoping. Listen, if we get him back for any amount of time this year, even if it's if he says, oh, we're not going to see him till the after the All-Star break, fine, I'll take that. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear it all season. That's going to be the one that we just
No, nobody wants that. Nobody wants this where we are right now. But okay, so 36 next season. But you know what? I'm gonna let Corey Kluber be my guiding light
Oh God.
because Corey Kluber's perfect game. He was he was older than that. So, but in all seriousness, as Joe Girardi would say, it's not what we want.
No,
And
definitely not.
so gonna say quick hello to Lori, who was making me laugh before even you joined me in the studio, Chris, early this morning.
Yeah.
Lori, I don't know. I feel like we were separated at birth. And hey, Jason from 161 River Ave is with us. Check out his pod as well. Really great stuff there. So we'll just have to see what happens with Cole. And by the way, if you're Max Fried, you're thinking, wow, they got me on the cheap right now. Because
Thank God
he's
we
now,
signed him, right?
yeah,
Everybody,
right.
why do we sign this guy? We don't need pitching. What do we? We don't need a good starting pitcher. We need a bat. Yeah.
No, we're stacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, how naive we were just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, he's number one.
Yep.
So and then what's also hanging in the balance is, currently we're really depending on what happens with Schmidt. He's number two on the list.
And he hasn't pitched yet.
And he hasn't even been.
We're not even talking about Schmidt.
He's not even traveling up to the Bronx with the team. He's staying behind for a sim game. I mean, come on. Yeah, like my grandmother would say, I didn't fall off the cabbage truck yesterday.
The hits
Like,
just keep on coming, unfortunately, and not in a good way for the.
no, not in a good way. But they're still planning on starting him on the game 6 of the season against the Diamondbacks on April 3rd.
Yep.
And Boone is saying by then he should be at 75 to 80 pitches. I'm sorry.
All right.
If you're
As long as he's healthy, as long as he can pitch, I'm good. But just get him here. Whatever it takes right now. We'll take anybody. Lynn, if you got a good arm, start warming up because we may need you.
well, I'm hokey pokey really good at the
Yeah.
top.
So
Um,
you don't
so
need surgery, so you're good.
hey, hey, listen, I had my rotator cuff fixed, so
There
already
you
one surgery under my belt. What else could happen?
go. Bobby
Um,
hit it right on the nose. We need Freed to bring his max level arsenal. He's laughing. That's a joke, but he's 100% correct. We need him to be the ace. We don't need him to be the second guy in the rotation. We need him to be the ace of the rotation and carry this team. Like
yeah,
we need him to do now.
and what he's carrying isn't exactly a light load.
No, no, not at all.
So no, he better bring his, beyond the Thunderdome Mad Max stuff type of level going
Right,
on.
exactly.
And we haven't really seen much of him, but looked really great when we did see him, and yeah, he's the it guy. And then the question becomes now, all right, so Heel we just talked about. Let's talk about I mean Schmidt. Let's talk about Heel.
Mm.
So 3 months at least for Heel. I'm not even, you know what? I've been let down so much by the numbers. I'm going straight to the All-Star break like you did with Cole, Chris. This young kid, this rookie of the year, glad he got it while he could. Because
Yeah.
he has already such a history. What do you think about Heel?
Well, two things, right? Number one, this was the same thing that Schmidt dealt with last year at the end of May and then
Right.
September. So, all right. So if it's 3 months, fine. Like you said, July, I'll take it. As long as he's healthy for that second half of the year, I'm good because I think we could stay afloat. But it brings up the other question of should we have used him in a trade for Kyle Tucker? Remember that came up and
Yep.
like, nope, we're not trading him. And I was against trading him too.
Me too.
Because Tucker was a rental, right? He was a 1-year guy. We went through that last year with Soto. There's no guarantee he's going to come here and fall in love with New York and be like, oh, I'm going to be a Yankee for the rest of my life. That ain't going to happen anymore, right?
No.
So I understand. I could understand both arguments. I'm not going to say they were right or wrong or what they did, but I get why they did it. But I also get why fans are saying, oh, we should have traded him. We could have had Kyle Tucker right now. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many examples of that. We missed Corbin Burns, we missed in other positions, so and now we're gonna, say, gee, are they gonna like open up their wallets all of a sudden, roll the stone back from the cave and
Well, who can we sign right now, right?
I know. Well, that's the thing. You would have to have an expensive deal made to get anyone to trade. And who are we going to give up at this point?
Right.
We're a friggin' MASH unit.
We need Dominguez, right? We need our young players.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't know who we're going to give up. I think you're right.
No.
Will Warren. Warren to start now for us.
Exactly. Like he would have been one of our biggest trading pieces. That if they have to be bringing him in. There's no question about it. There has to be a 5-man. And by the way, what does this mean about Stroman? Probably the same deal, right? He was right dead center in the middle of the bubble, but I think that he is.
I mean, there's a chance he gets moved only because of how much
Really?
he's getting paid, and they don't want to probably pay him that option for next season if he gets 140 innings, right? He gets 17 million for next season. So him, I could see getting moved if a team comes calling and but then you got to replace him though. That's the problem, right? He's not your sixth starter anymore. Now he's number 4. So now you got to replace him. So
right.
They're kind of in a catch-22.
Or they add insult to injury, no pun intended, and keep him in the 5 spot and give 4 to Warren.
Right.
And I don't know that I would be so mad at that, by the way. And I love Stroman. Sierra and I have been big proponents of Stroman, and that he doesn't really deserve the hate and the shade and the disregard he's being given. And he looked good last week.
Yeah.
What was that, Friday night? It's all a blur.
Toronto,
Uh,
yeah, he's okay, which is good.
yeah,
That's
he
all
looked
you
he,
want, right? I mean, if he could give you 4 or
he
5
looked
innings, I'm not expecting a lot from him, but whatever he could give you, he gives you. At this point, like I said, he's our number 4 starter.
that yeah, that's what we knew when we got him. We knew he wasn't, going to be a complete game kind of guy.
Right.
We knew that he threw marshmallows. We didn't see much at all of his ground ball action that we were promised. But he said on the interview that he's here to practice, and that's the mentality, right?
Yep.
So and it looked like he added, I think I saw like 4 different pitches from him the other night. So good. Let him work that stuff out and expand his arsenal, because now it turns out that we really need him, unless there's something that we don't know about, unless Cole's second opinion was just validation that he doesn't need Tommy John.
Right.
We didn't consider that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, oh, I don't believe it. The first X-ray was clean. I better ask somebody else. Hey,
Mhm.
that's a possibility, isn't it?
Right.
Um, and then just to get through the rest of the pitching. So that's the rotation.
Right.
The bullpen needs to just bubble wrap the whole crew.
Right.
We
Too.
still what?
They're banged up too. There's like 3 guys that are out.
Yes, yeah. And we just got Matzek,
Right.
and now he's questioned. He's questionable for the start of the season with an oblique, left oblique, or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the others better just
Well, think
listen.
about it. The bullpen is not bad, right? Like you said, if they stay healthy, we're good. But think about, they have like 4 really good arms that are out. So once they come back, the bullpen is good, is very good, right? Even with the injuries. But when these guys come back, hopefully, like Jonathan Loizaga, we've seen him when he's healthy, he's really good. I thought he was
Yeah.
going to be the closer, a couple of years ago. I thought he was going to be the next closer, but he obviously can't stay healthy. So, but when he's healthy, that guy's got great stuff. I think he's a great piece for the bullpen.
He really does, and that's the shame of it all, is that he was really ace of the pen for a while, and now again for another relatively young kid,
Right.
he's already plagued with stuff, and so it just I can't help keep reverting back to even when I was a kid and the players at that time, like, this stuff didn't happen at the rate that it happens now. And the other point is, I think guys really just played through the
Right.
pain,
Yeah.
and toughed it out, and that was probably the attitude of ownership and the clubhouse, etc. So it's just, and I'm gonna have to bring Stanton up, because I hope that third injection is helpful, but you know
And you know what, Lynn, we talked a little bit about it before we got on together. Like, what is the story with Stanton? Stan played the whole season, right, with his elbows hurting him, right? He battled through it. He played great in the postseason. Awesome. So let's think about this. End of the postseason, right? Season ends. It sucked. We lost the World Series. Okay. You go to Stanton. Stanton's like, man, my elbow's been hurting me all season. I battled through it. Like, what was that conversation? Was it like, oh, don't worry about it, just take some time off and you'll be fine? Should we send you for imaging and find out exactly what's wrong with your elbows so we could start some kind of treatment plan? Like, what was the story? And then he shows up in camp, oh, hey, by the way, I couldn't swing a bat for the last 3 weeks. Like, what is, like, something is amiss here, Lynn, right? Am I crazy? Or
Oh, no, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. So apparently I'm also Shakespeare quoting today. I hopefully that'll be the last. So here's the thing. It could be any of those things, Chris, right?
Right.
It could be Stanton not disclosing anything, and no one would be the wiser, because how much of a shocker was it that this guy that was a phenom that we know him to be the entire postseason, who would have thunk it, right? And what I will say didn't happen of your scenarios, Chris, is somebody saying, let's put a treatment plan together, because we know that this condition
I don't know that.
staff would never say that because they're the worst.
And I think they knew it was. Did they know it was bothering him all season long? That he could barely swing and he had to fight through it. And it's great that he did all that. But once the season ended, they should have said, "Okay, let's send you in. Let's get some MRIs done, X-rays, whatever. Let's figure out what's wrong, so we could set up a plan for you during the off season. So when you get to spring training, maybe you'll be ready to swing a bat. Not come into spring training. Oh, by the way, I haven't swung a bat in 3 weeks. I can't even lift up a garbage pail. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
who messed up here? I'm not blaming Stan. I'm not blaming the team, but it just doesn't make sense. You don't show up to spring training and go, oh, by the way, I can't swing a bat for the last 3 weeks, right? Like
That's why I don't believe that's the way it went down.
something,
Yeah.
somebody messed up. I don't know who it was.
It wasn't my boy. It
Well,
was yeah. I mean,
no,
well,
it might be. That's
no, it might be because but, he's being honest in the interviews though because he's
yes,
saying, "Look, I hope it's not the worst case scenario. I wanna be back." But, so be it if it's,
great.
I'm out for the season.
I'm sure he
Um,
wants. Think about it. I'm sure he wants to be healthy. He's got 3 years left on his contract, right? We all
mhm.
want him to get to that 500 home run thing. We want him to stay
Yes,
healthy.
please.
He wants that. He wants that too. I would think
Yes.
because without that, he probably doesn't get to the Hall of Fame. But if he gets that, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame most likely.
Oh, yeah.
And who knows? Maybe after 3 years and he's playing great, maybe he wants another contract. I don't know, but I would think he wants to be on the field. So somebody messed up here. Like did the team just go, just take the off season off, don't swing a bat, and you'll be fine in February. Like I don't know if that was it either. Something's amiss here. I don't know.
Yep, and the thing is, the bat is his entire game, so it's
I,
not like they could say, "Okay, listen, just be our" what he already was, our permanent DH guy, although that
Much
DH
better.
that DH seat is getting crowded because,
And you know
um
what? And Stan is to me like not in the postseason. So don't
mhm,
get me wrong what I'm saying, but in the regular season or for a few months, whatever it's going to be with Stanton out, he's the easiest one out of all these players that we're talking about that could be replaced because Judge could move to the DH spot, or they could sign, let's say, JD Martinez just to fill in, or they could find another right-handed bat and they could just maneuver, move guys around to get into that DH spot. Like Rice is probably going to be the starting DH from the left-hand side, at least, and then maybe he could take off with that. Maybe great. He could hit against righties. That might
yeah.
work. So I'm okay with Stanton being out for a few months.
Yeah, but let's remember that, the Yankees, I think, were set to sign Pereira. But Pereira can't throw yet.
Right.
So, but they've been using him DH throughout the spring training, quite a bit. So that's what I meant. Like they're going to be sitting on each other's laps for DH.
Yeah, I know.
If they even, end up breaking camp with Pereira. So, it's not the kind of wealth of riches we want is these
Pereira,
one-sided players right now.
maybe Pereira gets sent down to AAA just to like start working on the outfield, and once he's able to play the
Yep.
field, they'll bring him back up, and then he could be that extra outfielder DH type of guy from the right
Right.
hand side. So, but at least
Yeah.
there's options there. The
There
pitcher
is options there.
Cole is
That's right.
to me. Cole is the big one because you
Cole
can't replace that guy.
Cole is the huge one, and I think Stanton is just as huge because, if we even get to the postseason
Yeah,
without Stanton, we're sunk before we try to sail.
right.
So,
That's true.
um, so that's a hot mess.
Yeah,
And then let's talk about Ian Hamilton for a minute.
yeah.
We haven't seen hide nor hair of oh, see, I'm still quoting my grandma like we were talking about Chris before the show. We haven't seen him at all during
Right,
spring training. So, and the reason for that the only thing I ever read was that he came with an infection,
right.
a mysterious infection. So
All
I
right.
don't know what that means. It could be to, a body part that's essential for the game.
Has it come
Um,
up? What part of his body has it? Like, is it his arm, his leg? Is it something?
yeah. is it influenza that we can I'm an example. You listen to my voice.
Yeah,
Um, it could go for weeks and weeks. I think I've had it for all of spring training. Maybe he's just sick, but so, and I know I just changed back to the pen for a minute, but
yeah, that's okay.
just to my point about the list.
Right. It's just
uh,
ever it's just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah. And opening day, I think by now has to be like 18 or 17 days away by now.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, if this is the way we're starting off, is this like a really bad dress rehearsal and will be a smash hit when we open on Broadway?
Right.
I don't know, but to me, this just seems like a particularly long list, and this isn't even everybody.
Yeah, no,
Um,
exactly.
this is just a hot list that I put out.
Yeah, I listen, I think Hamilton will be back since it's nothing more than just a infection thing. Let's hope that's all it is, and hopefully he'll be back. And like I said, the bullpen, at least we could take a couple of injuries, which we've had already. We've talked about 3 or 4 guys being out, so if he's one of those guys too, that's fine. I don't think that's going to be our death nail one way or the other. So, but I still think Cole is the biggest one because of
Yeah, I mean, he's
what he
Cole.
right. I mean, he's Garrett Cole, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't replace that guy.
You
Because of
can't.
the fact he has not just think about it when he pitches, he gives you 6, almost 7 innings, right? Almost every start, you could pencil him in for that. So the bullpen is not being used that much that game. So the bullpen. All right, so now I just need 2 innings out of my bullpen or 3 innings, compared to we've seen other guys like say Stroman give us only 4 innings. So now you got to get 5 innings out of the bullpen. So that just helps the entire bullpen in in coming weeks or or games before him too. So he's so important. You could see him on when he's in the dugout. He's like another pitching coach. So
Yes,
he's that guy. So
he is. I mean,
it's gonna be huge. I mean, listen, if he gets hurt and he's out all year, I'm sure he's still gonna be in the dugout, right? If he gets Tommy
right.
John or whatever he gets, so he'll still be in the dugout, but he's still not taking the ball every fifth day, giving you, that 6, 7 innings, 3 runs or less, that type of Garrett Cole start. I mean, there's just nobody else that does that. And who
No, and
not?
yeah,
We're
it,
gonna sign some guy off the scrap heap that is gonna be, what he's gonna do, right? So
right. Yeah, there's just, if we had been a little bit smarter about some of the things that we were demanding the fan base was in terms of the starters.
yeah,
But although we did feel good, we felt we were pretty happy to settle with what we had. And that was thinking that Stroman was, really going to either be relegated to the pen or, traded out. But yet here we are. And so, oh, sorry. Sorry for the sandpaper, guys. And hey, Jonathan, I see you popped in. Good to see you. So let's get to a few hot topics. Let's stir some pots here.
this is an injury talk.
Well, yeah. But so I got one for you, Chris. Do you think Dominguez is breaking camp?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, unless he really, really poops the bed in left field, like really bad, like he's looked better of late. So let's hope if he's passable in left field, he'll be here. I think no matter what, he's gonna break camp because his bat is gonna be needed, right? We're talking about no Stanton. He could DH. He could be your switch hitting DH, right? If worst case. But I think he does. I definitely think he does. We still got a couple more weeks. He's just got to get reps out there. He's got to get reps out in left field. Just stick him out there every game, practice, just hit balls out to him in left field so he gets used to tracking the ball and everything. It's a matter of reps. He's a young kid. I get it. Guy played center. He wasn't great in center field either. So everybody's like, well, just put him in center field. He'll be fine. He wasn't great in center field either. So it's a matter of getting him out there. We just need him to get reps daily. Just get out there, stay out there. His bat's gonna play, right? We've seen it. His bat's gonna be fine. It's got good speed on the base path as well. So We just need him to get reps out in the outfield. So I definitely think he's going to make the team. Aside from knock on wood. Wait, hold on.
Don't say it. We
Outside of that, I think he makes the team. Yes.
Oh my God. And the fact that it's so likely and possible is
Right.
the
Like, I
thing.
don't want to say it because that's what it takes us, but
I mean, this is we're talking about this on March 9th.
right.
Who knows what tomorrow will bring? Or even later today. Who knows? So um so let's talk about the fact that the Yankees seem to be more and more married to Wells in the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
So like we know that the Yankees haven't ever done that before, but is that a reason for it not to happen?
No, no, not at all. Listen, if the guy could do it, I don't care. Listen, the old days you wanted, right, the fast guy up top to get on base and steal bases, and we get him over to third and we sack fly him in, all that stuff. It's not like that anymore, right? Now you got your best hitter batting second, which is Aaron Judge, right? So leadoff hitter is just the guy that gets on base. Just get him on base. No matter what, just get a guy on base. Don't worry about if he could run fast or not, as long as the guy gets on base. Is it Wells? I thought we just talked about Dominguez. I think Dominguez would be a good leadoff hitter because he does have a good eye at the plate. But do you want to put, this young kid, playing in your first full season? Okay, you're starting left field. You're starting in a position you don't normally play, and you're going to be leading off for the Yankees on opening day. That might be a little too much. So maybe later on in the season he does it. But for now, if Wells could do it, I'm
Right.
totally fine with it. As long as he gets on base, right? That's all I'm worried about.
Right. And the thing is, with Stanton being down, we've lost our cleanup guy. And so maybe that's going to be Dominguez at this point.
It could be.
Maybe
You're
that's
right.
a possibility. And in regard to Wells, we know he's not a base stealer or that sort of thing, but that's why we absolutely need to keep Volpe and Chisholm at the bottom of the order. Because in a scenario where they're on base and he could get some RB. Wells comes up and gets some RBIs in, setting Judge up to clean up the rest of the field. I'm not hating that whatsoever.
Yeah. And remember the old days, right? We had Wade Boggs leading off. Wade Boggs was not a fast runner, but the guy got on base, 40% of the time, right? His on base was probably over 400 with us. So I'm okay with it. Just as long as the guy gets on base. Maybe Wells maybe he's not the best choice. Maybe he's not the final choice. But if it's to start the season, let's roll with it. See what he does. Give him a month. Give him a few weeks. See, he might not be comfortable in the leadoff spot. He looks okay so far in spring training, but that's spring training. It's
Right.
different. Let's see how he does. Give him a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
I'm okay with that. And if he doesn't, give somebody else a shot. Whether it's Volpe, Jazz, there's other options. So
And Lord knows Boone loves him some moving around the pieces a lot. So there'll be no hesitation there. But I just wonder at why there was such a visceral reaction to even the notion of a catcher being lead off. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they want him in a less impactful spot because the game is so physically heavy, for the catcher. Maybe they think he needs all the iPad time he could get with Cole and
right.
when they're in the dugout. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I can't think of anything baseball, oriented that would make this an issue in terms of the position he plays.
right. I mean, listen, he'll get more at bats this way, right? If he's leading off. So I don't know if that's going to be more or less. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know if that plays into it, but that's a good point. That could be, but I don't know.
yeah,
Like I said, either way, give it a shot. Listen, at this point, it's April, when the season starts, right? Who cares? It's the first few weeks. Give it a shot. See how it works. It may work. It may not. He might come out of the box, first 3 weeks. He might be hitting, his weight, not even his weight, after a few weeks. So at that point, do you switch it up? I don't know, but I don't mind it. I think the immediate like, oh my God, I can't believe they're gonna try this is because the Yankees never do it, have a catcher, never did it. And most teams you could say never had their catcher lead off. I mean, how many catchers can you think could lead off? right? I mean, when you think about it,
Right.
out of the guys we've had, nobody really. I mean, you're going to put Posada as our leadoff or go
No.
further back, Thurman, Munson. No, those
Yeah,
guys.
Munson was not a leadoff guy.
Yeah. But Wells
Right.
kind of, I'm not saying he's fast, but for a catcher, he runs actually pretty good for a catcher.
Right.
Probably average to above average for a catcher. So,
Well, yeah, I'll take that.
yeah.
So it'll play out, but I just find it interesting that this has been a little bit controversial.
Yeah.
So speaking of Wells, who really has been sort of hot, who are you really liking, non-roster or roster? Who do you think is looking really good in camp?
Well, so far, we get back to pitching. Will Warren. Will Warren has looked really good. So I feel really confident about him being in the rotation if that's what they end up doing, which it looks like it is, but I don't mind seeing him in the rotation. And on the offensive side, Pereira, we just talked about him. He actually looked really good, just recently. So if they could get him playing the outfield, it may not be to start the season, but he might be that right-handed bat that we're looking for, especially if Stanton's going to be out a while, right? Because
Yep.
we got a lot of lefty batters now in the lineup, so we do need a right-handed bat. Could Pereira be that guy, or when you flip it over, maybe he's a guy that other teams are looking at, and we could trade him for somebody, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
I think it's one or the other. So that's a good thing.
Right. Okay. And so does Peraza win third base? And by the way, I just realized that long list we started with, I didn't even mention DJ.
Right. Oh my, yeah. Nobody wants to mention DJ. I'm hoping like he goes away. Like maybe if we don't talk about him, maybe he'll just like disappear from the Yankees.
We love you, DJ. I'm just saying that for the universe,
Yeah.
but really,
Yeah.
fact is
No,
fact.
really, that's a good one.
So
We love you, but really,
really,
but really, it's time. No.
I mean, we're looking at Cabrera Peraza now.
Yeah.
We know that Cabrera is not good. Well, I shouldn't say we know. I really feel that Cabrera is, they just want him super utility. As much as I'd like him to play on the regular, because I feel like he's earned it. To me, I think Peraza is finally going to get his chance, and they're going to reset his head for him, and that commit to him.
Listen. I wanted to see Peraza get that shot. Give him the first month of the season, like we're talking about with Wells leading off.
Mm-hmm.
Peraza a month. Let him start. Like he's going to give you solid defense at third, right? At the very least, he's going to give you that. Maybe giving him a month and just say, listen, this is your job. Take it, right? And run with it. Maybe he will. Maybe offensively, maybe he gets that confidence and, he could hit 250, 260, get on base, steal some bases because he's got some speed too. He's got a little pop in his bat. Maybe he could be that guy. I would love to keep Cabrera as the utility guy because that's his best spot to come in and replace anybody basically in the lineup. And you could give a guy a day off and have Cabrera out there, switch hitter, could play okay defense for you. So I'm hoping it's Peraza, but they might start with Cabrera just because, like you said, he's earned it. He's been here a couple of years. Last year he played great. Remember the first month of the season, he played really good for us offensively. Yep. So you know what? Maybe they give him both starts and see maybe one of the guys takes off. Maybe one of them gets really hot and then they stick with him. That could be what they do too. Or on the other side, maybe they trade for somebody, which that might be very possible, but I don't know what options are out there. I mean, we heard the Arenado argument. I don't know if you guys, I was totally against it. The only reason why, listen, I love the guy. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer, first ballot, no doubt. But his last 2 years, he's been on the decline, like a really bad decline his last 2 years. So you got to look at his age, right? He's 34 or whatever he is, another guy up there. And he's on the decline, and you locked into him for 3 more years, this year and 2 more. So if it was a 1-year deal, yeah, I'm taking it. I'll take a shot for 1 year. If he stinks, all right, he's gone, right? But you're locked into him for 3 years if you trade for him.
Yep.
Is he going to still decline or is he going to level out? I don't know. I'm not I'm no expert in this, so I don't know. But
Yep.
I see a guy at a certain age declining for 2 years. I'm going to guess that that's going to continue to happen. And I don't want to be stuck with a guy for 3 years. I mean, we already stuck with, DJ on the decline. And, we may not see DJ again, right? We could joke around, but we may not see him again. And we're locked into him for one more year, right?
Right.
And we're talking about Stanton. Look at Stanton. We got, after this year, there's still 2 more years of him left. And we don't know what's going to happen to him. Like, we're talking, like, we have no clue what's going to happen with Stanton.
We're still paying off Nestor too, aren't we?
I think so, yeah, this
Yeah,
year.
we ate part of his contract. So yeah, and we know that Hal doesn't like loans and debt. So right, exactly.
Listen, another guy we're talking about third base and kind of impressive was George Lombard Jr.
Oh, you stole mine. Yes, talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it.
You talk about it.
No, you, because no, I want you to do it.
No, he's only 19 years old, but he looks great out there, right? I mean, he's been playing some third base. He looks great. Defensively, he could definitely play the position. Offensively, he looks great, but we got to remember the kid is only 19 years old, right? So he hasn't played above, I think, high A ball. So let's send him down to the minors. I know everybody was like, he could start. He could be our third baseman. I'm like, I would love to see it. Trust me, I would love to see it. But let's not mess this kid up. Send him down. Listen, let him tear up the minor leagues. Let him be a double A guy. And then, you know what? Next spring training, let him come in with a shot at making the roster, But I think he looks really good. Really impressive kid. Let's hope he continues to develop. But 19, send him down. One more year. Let's gotta let it percolate, right?
Well, I was the crazy one that actually in the chat when on the guys show on Friday, my thing about Lombard Jr. is that yeah, he was high A. I think he's going to get promoted quickly. I think he's going to move through the ladder fast.
Yeah.
I see him maybe resting at double A for a while. I'm skipping a step, but double A for a while, but getting to triple A before the end of the season. And if that happens, which I think is likely, and I understand he's 19 and all his bones aren't whatever, like and Lord knows we need good bones.
He's a teenager when you think about it.
He's a teenager. It's a lot of stress. But hey, why not? If my controversial take is any sort of accurate, we're in the hunt for the postseason. If we elevate him for that purpose into triple A and taxi squad him a little bit.
It's possible. I'm not saying
but I know options are precious.
Right.
But I'm just so eager because I feel like it's a crystal ball in front of me with this kid.
Yeah.
But boy, if not any of those dreams come true, one hell of a trading piece.
That's right. I mean,
one hell of a trading piece.
I hope we're not that desperate where we got to trade Lombard, to get, a pitcher
exactly
or something like that.
Exactly. We still got.
If we could send him down, like you said, let him tear up double A, let him go down there and hit 320 or whatever, and just let him keep developing for another year down there. Hopefully we don't have to bring him up. Hopefully, like you said, hopefully he could just tear up double A or even move up to triple A and let him do his thing down there. Let him go into, next spring training. If he does all that, next spring training, I think he's going to have a shot at making the roster. I really do. I think next year, if he has a good year, a really good year, a good developmental year and all that this season, I think 2026 spring training, he's going to come in and the team's going to look at him like, oh, yeah, this guy's got a shot at, maybe taking over short and move Volpe to second or over third base, whatever it is. It's going to be interesting, too, like where they play him this year in the minors. Are they going to keep him at third and say, okay, he's going to be our third baseman next season? That's going to be a kind of foreshadowing of if they're going to move him to third, right? Because he's played short and third in spring training so far. So it's going to be interesting.
I'd like to see him were it not for Volpe, which, by the way, Volpe needs to pick up his game, his defense game.
Yeah, It's spring
But
training.
I know, it's so funny. We use spring training 2 ways, but you're right. It's spring training, he's just futzing around, all that.
Yeah.
But, I better not see that on March 27th.
No,
Um,
I agree.
but, the thing is, um, Lombard's a big guy. Um, that height could be really nice
Yeah.
mid infield. Um,
Well, comparing him to like Carlos Correa right now, the
yeah,
way he looks and the way
yeah,
he's swinging the bat. So listen, if he's like that, yeah, that's great. I mean, much
yeah,
we're not fans of Carlos Correa, right? Because he was on the Astros all those years. But
yeah,
if he turns out to be like that, I'll be 100% happy.
yeah. So speaking of spring training, um, um, let's talk about who's breaking camp, if anyone. I think we kind of went through all of it. Did we miss anybody? Do you think anyone that we've seen so far um has, other than Pereira, who we talked about, exhaustively? Is there anyone else that you would think might be a consideration, or
Maybe
we
Dom,
are where we are?
maybe Dom Smith now because of the injury to Stanton, he might make it. Listen, when they first
Yeah,
signed him, I'm like, man, if he makes the roster, if he's on the opening day roster, like something really bad had to happen for this team for him to make. And unfortunately,
so it's your fault.
yes, it is. It is. I mentioned it. I'm an idiot, but like,
No.
ugh. Now we're kind of like in that. Now we're having that discussion, right? I think
Right.
it depends. Like, um, what are they? What are they going to do with Rice? Like I mentioned him, he's probably going to be the DH from the left-handed side, but he could also back up first, right? And he could also back up catcher. So, do you want to add Dom Smith and be another backup first baseman because he could play the outfield too? He could play first, and we got tons of left-handed bats. So maybe that's where I think Pereira could be that extra guy on the bench. But then again, do they want Pereira to play every game and get reps out in the outfield? And because he's coming back from an injury, so I really
Right.
think Dom Smith might make this team unless they pick up.
Yep.
Listen, we've seen it, right, Lynn? Every year, guys get cut at the end of spring training, and then we'll gobble up some guy that we didn't think was available, but they might become available because other teams, like there might be another. I'm not saying, but another guy like a Dom Smith that's on one of these other teams that's kind of on the bubble, that might make the team, and if he doesn't, then it might be a guy that we could use. It might be basically a right-handed Dom Smith, because that's what we need. We need a
That's a
right-handed
really good point.
that could
That
play the outfield, maybe play third base.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of need. So keep an eye out for that. But if not, I think Dom Smith will make the team.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair. I think that's a likelihood for sure. And then, in terms of the lineup behind Wells, I think that in itself is putting, Ben Rice's name in ink. Because he, like you said, he could do both, and at some point we'll need both. We certainly need at least a one backup, and if not three, for catcher. And so,
That's
you
the other
know,
guy that might make it, right? Escara, is that how you say it?
Ascara should make it,
Yeah,
right?
he'll be
Yeah,
the backup catcher. Rice will be the third catcher, backup first baseman, left-handed DH. Like he's going to fill a couple of roles, which is great.
yeah,
That's what you want, right? You don't want a guy who could just DH, unfortunately, like Stanton. That's why, out of all the guys, yeah, his bat you're not going to replace, but his spot on the roster, it's actually better without him because now you got more flexibility with your roster. Yeah, the
yeah,
is not going to be as good, obviously, because there's no Stanton, but maybe
right,
Rice, maybe he could step up and be that really big bat, especially from the
yeah.
left side.
And what's funny is Rice isn't the only one with that double side. You also have I'm going to screw up his name, Edgelin Perez, who's also first base catcher guy,
Right.
and same for Rafael Flores. So, but yeah, I mean, Rice above all of them takes the ring.
Yeah,
Oops, pun in,
and
yeah,
he's looked great so far in spring training, right? He bulked up a little bit. He's been hitting the ball hard, so
yeah,
this might be a breakout year for him.
yeah.
That's the
That
thing. We started negative this in the show, right? But now we're going to kind of end it on a positive note where, yeah, maybe Rice could be this guy that's going to replace Stanton's bat, at least from the left-handed side. The right-handed, against a left-handed starter, maybe that's when Judge becomes the DH, right? And I think that's the positive for me with Stanton being out. Now you give Judge more DH at bats, right? So now you're going to preserve him for the second half a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah,
He's
I
still
like
on the right field, but you know what? He's going to DH now a couple of times a week at least, and that'll kind of preserve him a little bit, his legs. He's not out there running crazy out in right field. Now he
yeah.
could, have like a half day off.
And plus those 3 AM feedings has to be a bitch. So,
Don't we know that?
so you use the word breakout. So, that's the other thing happening this week is the spring breakouts games going on. And I think that ours is March 15th, and I know it's against the Orioles. I'm pretty sure it's the 15th. And so the roster there, I think Spencer Jones is an obvious, Lombard is an obvious.
Yeah.
Arias is an obvious. And I think even the catcher, all the catchers we just talked about. In terms of pitching, probably Schlittler, right? Because Schlittler has been looking decent. But who else do you think of the non-rosters would make the starting lineup for that? You think?
Oh, that's
pitching wise, whatever.
Yeah, I thought they released the roster. I was looking for it.
Yeah, I jotted some names down, but I couldn't remember if it was just like from something I read or not. But
yeah,
so I said Schlittler because that was just like, to me that would be an obvious.
Right.
But so we're talking Hess, Cunningham,
right.
Rodriguez, Cruz. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Kate Smith. And Lagrange. He's been hanging around for a bit, so right. I think they're right. I don't remember his first name.
Yeah, these are guys more in the lower, the lower part of the farm system, right?
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to see any of those guys coming up with the team. I would think not. Right?
No. To me, this is probably more of, I feel like these breakouts are more of a showcase than anything, than like a team gathering their own intel. That, some of these guys, to your point, that are like single A guys or lower, might become somebody another team is interested early and wants to cultivate, so to your point, maybe that's why they're on the list. But staying behind, obviously, there's no need to put top prospects like Warren, Pereira, and Dominguez. You're not going to see them in the breakouts.
Right.
The team. Yeah, this is for the really young kids to like show what they got, and people to have a look at them. I think it's going to be Scout Palooza. These breakouts. I think there's be a lot of scouts in the stadiums taking a look, and but.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's going to be possible, names that you might hear for trades, right? That's going to be I think that's the big thing. Some of these guys that we see on the spring breakout rosters are guys that, if the Yankees do make a move to add a bat or a starting pitcher, unfortunately now, especially in the next day or two, we're going to know, right, which way Cole is going to be. Right? Is it going to be the rest for 8 weeks or something, no throwing, like the whole thing with Hill was 6 weeks of no throwing. Maybe that's what it'll be with Cole, or we're going to hear the dreaded one, the Tommy John. I hope it's not that, but if we hear that, then the Yankees are going to be looking for a starting pitcher, right? I don't think they're going to go the whole season with, Will Warren and Stroman as your 4 and 5. They're going to add someone else, right? I think
definitely.
Perfect world, either Will Warren stays stretched out in AAA as a starter, or he's in the bullpen as a guy like Michael King, pitch 2 innings at a time, right? So, I think the next couple of days we're going to see is going to be pretty big, right? We're going to find out about Cole. Maybe we'll find out about Stanton, something more. I don't know. It seems like every week we're waiting on some kind of news. Like we said it earlier, like it was personal business in New York. Like what the hell is, like what's
Yeah,
going
like,
on?
don't even put that out there.
No, because
Like,
it's what could it be? It could be anything.
yeah, we love us some speculation. Don't give us that to stir around.
Yeah, put that out on social media. You're just
Yeah,
asking for
really, yeah, really smart. If I was Stanton, I'd be pissed and going into that office and saying, "Why are you spilling the tea on my personal life, man?"
right. He's rehab. He went to go talk to a doctor, about the elbows or something. He could have just kept it at that. I mean,
Exactly.
elbow
They're
thing.
vague about
Okay,
everything else. Why be specific about that? Like,
right.
not. I mean, that's as specific as they get, anyway. Here's a question. I was kind of at this last statement. I'm a little bit surprised that Spencer Jones is in the breakout squad.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Well, I don't think there was a chance of him uh, making the roster, right? Because if you look at what he did last year, yeah, he's got, listen, the physical tools are there, right? The guy could hit. He's basically Aaron Judge from the left-handed side, right? That's basically him and just younger. So that's what you're getting. Unfortunately, though, the guy struck out 200 times last year in the minor leagues.
oh, there is that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, yeah. Yeah, he hit probably home runs that haven't landed yet, but he also struck out 200 times in Double A. Okay, that's not good. Okay, that is the problem with him. He does not. He finds a lot of strikeouts, so he's still got a huge hole in his swing. So that's something that you know, as the Yankees, this is where they got to figure it out, right? Is he going to fix that? Is he always going to be a 200 strikeout guy, and and be this great humongously talented guy, but he's going to strike out 200 times. If this is what he is, this is what he is, right? But is
Right,
he gonna improve? If he's going to improve, then you hold on to him. But if he's going
right.
to be a 200 strikeout guy for his entire career,
Wow.
what do you think about moving him? I don't know.
I think I had a case of convenient amnesia. Thanks for the reminder.
The roster here, I'll send you the roster.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
This way, it's because there are a couple of names that we've mentioned. Um,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you in the private chat.
Okay, cool. So let's stay there
Um,
for a minute.
yeah,
All
and you could see it. Like the infielders, you got Arias. He's another Roderick Arias. He's another shortstop that we've been hearing about. A young kid. Lombard, obviously. Rumfield, he could play first and third, I think. He's been playing a lot in the spring training games. Outfielders, Spencer Jones is definitely the guy that sticks out. Catchers, you mentioned, I think, Flores as a backup catcher, first baseman. But
Yep.
like we said, he's
Yeah.
probably not going to make it. It looks like Escara is going to be that guy. Escara, him, and Ben Rice will be the backup, right, to Wells. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
solid.
But you know what? The good thing is like it's great to have all this depth, down in AAA or AA. Like they're ready to go. Some of these guys, so that's the good part.
Yeah.
Pitchers, we've heard some of these names already. So
Yeah. I hope, well, I'm sure we'll get video clips at the least from it, but
yeah, I think the first couple of days of this week, I think we're going to know what direction the Yankees are going to go in on what they're going to add. Right? If they get really bad news with Cole, where he's out the whole year because of Tommy John, you know what? They're going to look into getting a top of the line pitcher if they can, because I don't know, because there's nothing available in free agents, right? I was looking at it the other day, free agent wise, some names that are coming up as a free that are still available. Patrick Corbin, we know what he did with Washington. Lance Lynn, he's been here before. He's got a great last name, but he may not be our best option. The one guy I thought was good, but I don't know if he'll be ready, is Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson is durable. He gives you innings.
adorable.
I don't know if he's adorable. He might be too.
Adorable.
Adorable, yes. There's a big difference.
I
He might
know.
look good. He might look good, but he doesn't pitch well. No, but he's like your prototypical, middle rotation guy. He's going to give you innings. The guy's never misses a start. He's had 30 straight. He's had 30 starts a season for 7 or 8 straight seasons, excluding 2020, obviously. But the guys, that's a guy I would look at into possibly signing. Last year, I'll give you some of his stats. Um, Last year, he pitched for St. Louis. We know St. Louis wasn't great last year, but the guy he's like a guy you could pencil in every fifth day. He's trust me, he's not Cole, but he has started 30 or more, 31 or more since 2020. And before that, 2019, 2018, he was 32 or more starts. So the
Okay.
guy's gonna give you, and the guy gives you innings. You're talking about almost 200 innings every
Yeah.
year. So he's a guy that maybe they're looking at. I don't know.
I hope they're looking at it, because it's a scary thought that this rotation can't go anywhere. Like,
No,
they're not allowed. They're not allowed to break a toenail. Any
no,
of them.
no, they're not.
We have nobody. So
No, that's the crazy thing. I mean, we've already had our, the hill, bump in the road. At first, it was like, all right, he's out for 3 months. We'll live with it, right? We're getting him
right.
back in July. At least mentally, you're thinking, all right, we could survive with Stroman now in the
Yeah.
rotation, right?
Yeah.
Cole was like, that's the big, like, oh man, like we can't miss this guy. Like he can't be out for a lot of time. So it's
Yeah.
big. Let's all cross our fingers and whatever else we do for good luck, because we're going to need it for these next couple of days to hear for what's going on with Cole.
Right. Yeah. I want that breaking news as soon as possible. They better not be like hiding it.
Yeah.
But we know they love that. All right. So as we begin to wrap up, it is Women's History Month. And so every March we dedicate time to talk about women in baseball history. And so now's the time. So if you were to like make a guess on when the first women's baseball team was put together, what year would you guess that to be?
Um, well, thanks to
And not professionally, not like a women's baseball team.
oh,
When was there an organized women's baseball team? How far back in time? Could be a century or so or
right.
more.
I mean, was it when the A League of Their Own movie came out, like that, like in the 40s?
No, that's and so that is the answer. That would like be the 100% answer, right? But the first organized women's baseball team was organized in 1866.
Wow. Okay.
And it was at Vassar College, which was a women's college at the time,
Oh,
Poughkeepsie, New York, by the way.
okay.
And their name was the Vassar Resolutes. And so they were an active team from 1866 to 1878. And you know why they dissolved? Because their parents were concerned about the safety of baseball for their daughters.
Wow.
So
And
as far back as 1866, which I found pretty remarkable.
actually, that became the reason why softball was invented, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And just even the term makes sense now when you think about that, right? So, it's probably now I need to go dig and see if Vassar had the first softball team.
And it's strange, right? Like the first thing you think of softball, you don't think of women. Softball, you think of, the beer league players,
Yeah.
guys playing softball.
Yep.
I played softball for a few years too after Little League ended for me. So,
Yeah.
but now, like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But when you look back at how did softball come about, was because they didn't want, little girls wanted to start playing baseball, but they were worried about them getting hit in the face and all this kind of stuff with the ball. So they invented softball, and that's how
Yeah.
that whole thing started. And it wasn't that long ago, right? I think it was in the 70s, early 70s, maybe.
I don't know. I'm gonna look now.
Yeah, like 60.
Yeah.
It was not that long ago. It wasn't 18, whatever. No, it definitely wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, spoiler alert, that'll be discussed in next week's segment of
There you go.
baseball. But I want to talk about 1882 for a second. So, Eliza Green became baseball's first female official scorer for the Chicago team now known as the Cubs. She scored for the club until 1891. And the only reason she quit was because by then she had earned enough money to pay her way through college.
Hmm.
And so the other very interesting thing here is that she was a secret scorer. She caught the eye of the owner of the club at the time, and she had become like she was keeping score out of her own interest. She lived across the field from the where the team was playing at the time, and somehow got connected to the president of the club, Albert Spalding. So makes you wonder there who's part of that family of Spalding. And he knew that she had a keen eye for scoring. We don't know how, maybe through conversation. And there was so much arguing about how scoring was done by the men of the game that he brought her on as a secret agent, and even gave her a neutral name, and she became the official scorer for that team.
Wow.
Under that name. And so and when she would file the reports, she would use that name, and those are the numbers that got posted were from her. And no one was ever the wiser. And now at least she's getting credit hundreds, more than 100
Yeah.
years later.
And I think
But
we said we might get a woman umpire, right, this year?
yes, you're talking about Jen Palu. I'm probably butchering her name. That would be a long time overdue.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
And then,
still waiting to see a coach, like a manager or a first third base coach, somebody on the field that we see all the time. Because
yeah,
now there are coaches in baseball, and we had one in our minor league system, the manager.
right.
Now isn't she in the front office or something with the Marlins, or
Um,
what's the name?
okay, you're thinking of Kim Eng, right?
No, not Kim. The one that we had as our manager.
Oh, right.
What's
Um,
the name? Oh,
it's well, we'll have to now. That's second thing I have to look up because I'm drawing a blank.
right, but she's not the manager anymore. She was our manager for our the Tarpons, the Tampa Tarpon team.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
She became the
yep.
like a scout or something for or head of scouting for, I believe it's the Marlins. I could be wrong, but I'm something's clicking that it was the Marlins. It was a couple of years ago when it
Okay.
happened, but
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. So hopefully we see that more. I
Yeah.
want to see it more in football. Football, there's some coaches
Yeah.
now, not
Yeah.
head people, but at least they're there, And I think the more we see it, the better it'd be. I would love to see a woman play in baseball. I don't know if we'll ever see that, but that would be awesome.
Well, you know that the first professional women's baseball league has started. Um, so we'll see what happens with that as they start building that out. That's really within the past year, even less. And last but not least, really quickly, I'll end us in the 1900s at least. 16-year-old Amanda Clement became the first female ever paid to umpire a baseball game.
Wow.
So there you go. And following after her all these years later will hopefully be Jen Palu, who we saw during spring training recently, umpiring. So
16-year-olds, even a boy, let alone a girl,
right, pretty
umpiring a
remarkable.
game. Like I couldn't see that. 16 years old. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah. And I'm digging the uniform, the umps.
Yes.
So I like that.
Yeah, that is cool.
So Chris, I can't thank you enough for joining, and what a great conversation as
Yeah.
always. Everybody has to check Chris out on his podcast, Lift Off Jets. It's right there under his name, and NYMLB Talks on all the platforms.
Yep.
Follow him on the X. And Chris, thank you very, very much.
No, Lynn, thank you. It's a
always
pleasure. I love talking to you. I
same.
love having chats with you, especially baseball and everything else. Unfortunately,
Everything else. Yeah.
it's great.
And
Anytime.
so
I'm
it
always
was great conversation, and same as always.
Yeah.
We look at us. We went like pretty long, and we could still keep talking forever.
Exactly.
But everybody in the chat and listening, thanks so much for being with us.
Yep.
And as always, you have a reserved seat right here on the upper deck. And let's go, Yankees. Be well, everybody.